Ow! I already pinched my fingers between these.
I have to show you something.
Okay.
Look at how we set up the setup, and what do you notice about the tree?
That is perfect.
We're not gonna talk about it the whole time.
Lovely.
Hey guys, welcome back. Hey. This is Jordyn Cameron, also known as my sister-in-law, but we don't care about the in-law part.
Sisters.
My name is Isabella Cameron, and this is the Freedom Podcast. And Jordyn is my second guest. And last week I had one of my close friends, Christian on it, and we talked about the need for control. And then today we're going to interview Jordyn and have a conversation about her testimony.
Yep.
And what she's been learning.
Yeah. So my name is Jordyn Cameron. I'm 20 years old. I am a preacher's kid. I'm a PK certified. So I did grow up in a very Christian family, Christian house. You know how that goes.
What kind of jobs have you had?
I've had a lot of jobs, actually, a lot of service food jobs. I worked at Chick-fil-A, which is like very PK of me.
Yeah.
Then I worked at Starbucks, that was my downfall. That was me in the valley. I'm just kidding. I love Starbucks. It was actually a great job. It was good. Right now I'm at a tea place and I love it. I love it very much.
Did you go to college?
No. Kind of. I dropped out a little bit.
If it wasn't for you, it wasn't for you.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I got like 4 months into it and then I dropped out. But
Yeah. Well, I think it's also like not talked about often, which is why I asked. But like,
yeah.
why would you pay so much money and take all the time if that's not what you're sure you want to do?
Absolutely.
So yeah.
And I will say that is great for a lot of people, but when I dropped out, I did absolutely nothing. So you still have to do something if you're dropping out.
Have a goal.
Yeah. But, I'm great now. And if I would have gone through it, I probably wouldn't like my life. And,
True. Do you have any like career goals that you're working towards right now, or are you just living?
You know what? I'm looking to be a stay-at-home mom at the moment, which is crazy because, like, that was not something I ever dreamed about, like, growing up at all. Like, I also hated men. I was like, ew, like, I would never get a husband. That's gross. But something happens when you grow up. It's, like, weird. And my mind definitely changed, so...
That's cool.
I do love all the power boss women, but that's not... I take that back. I think that being a mother is one of the most power boss things that you can do. So
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the hardest jobs ever.
Absolutely.
Because you're not just like one thing. You're all
and
the things.
And I see my mom and I'm like, wow, she's very strong and like I don't know how she does it, especially with me as her kid. Like my siblings, she's great. But that's what I feel called to do, for sure. I think that, there's a lot of really cool jobs that women can have, especially in, like, business areas or, like, what else is there? Like, office jobs, that sort, like, big powerhouse positions. But that's not for me. That's not my strength. So I think my strength will be as a mother. So, you can apply to be my husband in my DMs.
I'll tag your Instagram in the comments.
Yeah, tag the Insta. I'm not like that. What's the word? Eager? I'm eager, but like desperate.
Right.
Well, okay. I know this is something I've prayed about, so I know that He's coming. And I'm just learning patience. God is teaching me patience right now, and He's teaching me. He's jealous for me. He wants me to be His right now, and that's fine with me.
I think that's
But
great.
eventually,
Yeah, it's okay to have a desire and know it's not for right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it used to be a lot different for me, though. I think it used to be a need more so, like, but also that was before I had God, to feel that
That's
in
what I
my
was going
heart.
to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it'll just be an addition.
Yes.
It'll be great.
And it'll be even better because then I have both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So.
Okay, well, you kind of answered like how you grew up and like your church background. Like you grew up a pastor's kid. Mm-hmm. What denomination is the church you grew up in?
Non-denominational.
And do you still go there?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How long was it the period of not going?
So this is like a weird thing to think about because like there wasn't a clear time like where I stopped going to church. It was pretty gradual. Like I'd like start sleeping in, like, you know, I'd be like, oh, sorry, Mom, I didn't go to church. I slept in. Like I couldn't wake up. Like I had a long night the night before or whatever. And then it just started getting to the point where it was very clear that I didn't want to go to church. Yeah. And I think the people around me knew that before I knew that. I just eventually stopped going. I think I was probably 16 or 17. Yeah. And then I think I would come every now and then. Barely.
What was your motivation in coming when you did come?
I think it was mostly stuff like Christmas and Easter service and
it's just like what the family's doing.
My family was also very like in the beginning they were very persistent in like me coming and being like, hey, are you gonna come? Or like not guilt tripping me, but like they wanted me there. Yeah. But I was kind of annoyed by that. I was like, oh, you guys are like making it such a big deal that I'm not coming to church every now and then. And then I think I just became agitated by that. And then I just like eventually stopped coming. Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that.
You know, you answered my question. Yeah. Was your dad the pastor like from birth? Like was that his job?
No. So I'm actually from Idaho.
No one said ever.
Yeah. So we grew up in like a mega church. Okay. It was pretty big. My dad was not the pastor, but he was a part of the church. My grandma still works at that church too. It's a great church, but you know, we don't live in Idaho, so you know. And then we moved from Idaho to Franklin, Tennessee, because my dad got a job at a church in Franklin. I think he wasn't the main pastor, but I think he would preach every now and again. And then he got the pastor job at our church now. Okay. Can I say the church? Is that like, people are going to stalk us?
I mean, they're going to find your name.
Yeah, okay. It's Central Christian Church. You guys should come. It's pretty cool.
It's in Columbia, Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've been there since 2010.
And you were how old then?
7.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he immediately became the pastor because...
So like pretty much from early memories he was preaching.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, he's always been like the church man in my eyes. Like the church man. Like even if he wasn't the pastor, he's always been like a pastor to me, you know? Yeah. But yeah, we definitely grew up. I didn't know a life that wasn't in church, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So we'll come back to church stuff because I have more questions about that. But for now, how old were you when you feel like you started to walk away from the desire to be at church? Or did you ever feel a desire to be a part of all of that?
I think my desire was different when I was younger. It was more so for like the activities and the friends that were at church. Because I had a pretty big friend group. We had Awanas, VBS, stuff like that. So obviously it was really fun for me to go to church. But it wasn't necessarily because of God. Yeah. I also think I didn't know him. Like I knew God, obviously, but I didn't have a relationship with him. So I think once I started getting older, around 16, I didn't really have the same friends anymore. When I left youth group, I think, was when it really shifted. Yeah. Because I got too old for youth group, and then it was like, oh, wow, I'm just going to church now. Like, yeah, this is like whatever. And obviously, if I didn't have a relationship with God, I wasn't getting any. Sorry, I wasn't getting anything out of it. Right. So obviously I was disinterested in going. I think definitely around 17 is when I just like stopped.
So when you were sitting at church during that period where you were like just disinterested,
Oh, absolutely.
like, do you remember getting anything out of a sermon, or did you completely tune out?
No, I would color the whole time. I would like freak out. I'd be like, "Mom, give me your bulletin. I need to color on something."
Because otherwise you'd have to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not me anymore, so I can joke about
Yeah.
it. But like that was my reality. Like I didn't grasp anything that was being said. Like I didn't know how to take that in at all. So I forgot what you initially asked me, but
No, that was it.
yeah.
Definitely.
Wasn't like invested in the sermons.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then how long ago or how long has it been since you shifted and became a Christian?
It's very new for me, actually, which is crazy because it's like I grew up in a Christian house and I have grown up with really, really strong Christian parents and like friends and environment. Like my childhood has been great and it's been very godly. But I haven't felt like I was a Christian until this year. And like I haven't felt like I've known God until this year. So I would say, when did this all happen? It was I would say August is when it kind of started to bloom.
After you moved out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's only been 4 months? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been so much longer.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, but it hasn't. So.
I just remember when I was like doing your hair in like August and you were like,
Yeah.
I have to tell you something. And I was like, okay. And you were like, I've just been on a Jesus kick. And then you started crying and I was like, what is happening? But
Power of the Lord.
also probably one of the greatest days of my life. So that was so cool. But like
That's
not what I
great.
expected at all.
Because I felt kind of embarrassed after that happened, to be honest with you.
Like to tell people in your
Yeah.
life.
Especially my mom whenever I talk to her.
Well,
Because,
she had to have sobbed.
yeah.
And that's a lot of emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really good, though. It was definitely
Yeah.
sob-worthy.
For sure.
But, yeah, I mean, that's what it does to you. Like, and we can go into that, too,
Yeah.
because there's a lot that goes into it.
It's a whole thing.
That is my revelation. I saw something. Can I say
What?
something
Yeah.
on Instagram? Someone put this on Instagram. And they were like, they prayed over their Chick-fil-A chicken nugget box, and then and they ordered like a.
I know exactly what you're about to say.
Okay. They ordered a certain amount and they opened it and they got more and they were like, "This is my revelation."
This is God.
Yeah. Anyways,
Chick-fil-A is pretty blessed anyway. So
yeah. So that's a
Had to
double
happen
prayer.
at
That's a
Chick-fil-A.
double.
double blessed.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Before you were born again,
I would say saved too,
saved.
because that's how I felt like. Delivered.
Well, that was my question.
Delivered.
Like, well, 2 questions. If I had asked you, or if anyone had asked you before that point, if you were a Christian, would you have said yes? And if so, did you really believe it?
In fact, I did say yes.
Okay.
I always thought I was a Christian. We talked about this. I talked about this a little bit in Young Adults, but I wanted to go into it more, but we couldn't.
Yeah.
So I would say there was always something inside of me that was like, I mean, obviously God was chasing after me the whole time and God was always with me. And that's very like apparent now looking back. But there was always something inside of me where I was like, it made me feel bad when people made God jokes or like at one of the jobs I had.
Yeah.
Will not be named. It was a very ungodly job.
Yeah.
Can I just say it? Or is that like slander?
I'm not going to tag them.
Okay.
I don't care.
At Starbucks. No, at Starbucks, there was just like a lot of God slander, and it made me feel like something. Like I was like, I don't really like how I feel about that. but I think that I would try to present Christianity to people in a way that they would accept it. So I would be like, oh no, like Christians are super open-minded and it's just about loving each other and stuff like that. It's okay that you're gay and like living this life and like doing all these things. And like you can still be a Christian, blah, 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 blah. Which is like not true. I don't know if I want to get all into that.
You don't have to.
But I would definitely tell people that I was a Christian, just to like, I don't even know why I did, because there was no reason for it. I didn't have a relationship with him, so like.
Do you think you were scared of actually saying out loud?
Yeah,
that you
probably, because
weren't?
then that's me like leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's something powerful about saying things out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in your head, did you believe that you were going to heaven?
We've talked about this, but so I thought about death every single day for a long time in my life. Like since I was little, like I would just go to sleep thinking about death all the time. It's always been something I was really scared of. But when I started to stray from that Christian life that I was living before, I would think about it every single time I was driving. I would think about, if I died right now, I'm going to hell, and I know that. And I don't want to, but like I'm not gonna do anything about it. So like it was on my heart all the time. Like I constantly thought about it, and I would just feel anxious from it, but I wouldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So it did suck. It really did. It wasn't
That's so
like I was
scary.
like living freely. It's not free at all.
Right.
Like the feeling. But like I knew that how I was living was not right, and I knew that it was bringing me somewhere bad, and that when I died I was not going to be free. And I felt the anxiety of that, but it wasn't enough for me because I was so in love with my sin, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I was really in deep. So yeah.
Yeah. So then if it was like, it felt too hard and you were too in love with the world, what finally changed?
So, it took a really dark place for me to like get out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. I feel like it kind of involves context,
Okay.
but like we don't have to go through all of it.
You can share as much or as little as you want.
So, yeah. I started vaping when I was 15.
Okay.
And that was my first piece of the world, I guess. I was extremely, extremely sheltered, in a good way, like not even in a bad way, just in a genuinely loving way. But I was always very infatuated with the world and with sin, because of that, I guess. So I started vaping, which led to this whole other world, just keeps opening doors. And then I started smoking weed at 16. And then I think when I was 17, I started smoking every single day. So I got to this point in my life where I was really, really, really reliant on my vices. I would wake up and smoke, and then as soon as I didn't feel high anymore, I would smoke more. And it became really bad, like really, really bad in a lot of different ways. I was always very emotional, and when I smoked, it numbed me to everything. So I just didn't have to feel anything, and I didn't have to deal with anything.
Yeah.
So it became super toxic. I don't know another word. It just became really bad. Like I was filling a God-shaped hole with things that were not God. Like I had very real needs that I was trying to fill with really bad things.
Yeah.
That just kept leaving more holes. So I became very chained down to the things that I was putting in my life and in my body. I felt genuinely like a slave. And, you know, you are a slave no matter what you live for. You're either a slave for God or you're a slave for the world.
Yeah.
Or for yourself. And I was in really deep into the world and to what I was putting in my body every single day.
Yeah.
It led to a lot of things. It led to a lot of self-harm, and I like had really bad body dysmorphia, and I like starved myself for a year, unintentionally, if that even makes sense.
Yeah.
Which led to even more self-harm because it was just like an endless cycle of like sadness and like craving and like trying to fill the void. And then it just, you know, it's just like a horrible endless cycle, which is how I feel about vaping too. It's like it got to the point where like at first it was like a little bit of a high whenever you would vape. And then it just gets to the point where you don't even feel any different at all. You just need it like oxygen. Like you just need it to be okay.
Yeah.
And that's how it's a good analogy for like a lot of the things in the world where it's like, it's not going to fulfill you at all. It's just going to be a craving.
Yeah.
So anyways, I I fell into a really bad place in my life, and I had tried to get myself out of it. I had tried to quit nicotine probably 3 times. I had tried to get out of a lot of the stuff that I was in, and it just never worked. It never stuck. So I was in a pretty low point, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to like look at some Bible verses because, you know, I've tried everything else.
Yeah. What's the longest you made it without nicotine before that?
A month.
Okay.
Yeah. I was really proud of myself. I was really proud of myself. Like,
yeah.
I would even tell people, I was like, this is the most proud of myself I've ever been. Like, this is the hardest thing I've ever gone through. And then I immediately fell back into it.
Yeah.
So it did not stick, obviously. Because, like, yeah, I got rid of the addiction, but I still had to fill that void.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Band-Aid over a bullet hole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I started going to the Bible, and God spoke to me. And I was like, wow, this is something I've never felt before. This is crazy.
Do you remember what that first like experience
yeah,
hearing God was?
It just felt like good. Like I've experienced a lot of highs in my life, and it's the high that doesn't make you feel anxious that it's gonna go away. It's just like warm and fuzzy. It's like, wow. I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of like, it's like I had never breathed before, and I was like, this is oxygen. Yeah, I don't know. I just really felt God through his verses, and I started experiencing him and his love.
So how long after that first experience did you start quitting everything?
I actually started quitting before I went to him.
Okay.
So I think I wasn't even planning on quitting weed, actually. I didn't have interest in doing that. I just wanted to quit nicotine. So I quit. I like threw my vape away, like randomly. I don't even know why. I was like looking at it, and I like looked at the trash, and I was like, you're going in there. And I chucked her in. And I was like, wow, that was really cool of you, Jordyn. And then, like, the first day was fine. And then I was like, man, this feeling is coming back. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's just never going to be easy. And then that's kind of when I started pining. Is that the word?
I think so.
Pining.
Yeah.
After
Fiending.
I started fiending for something else. I redirected my fiending. Yeah.
We used a lot of big words
I know.
in the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? There's no harm in reading the Bible, so let's try it out.
Yeah.
And I looked up Bible verses for addicts. I was like, wow, yeah, these are great. And then it wasn't like immediately like, 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 you know, it wasn't immediately like crazy, but it was like, okay, I'm interested. And then I just felt really hungry for the word. And then I just felt really, really hungry to like know Jesus. Like I just wanted to know him so badly. I wanted to know everything about him, and I wanted to just feel him as much as I could. I was just really excited about it.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's really cute. Like, I just love that he like put that in me. Like I just love how on fire I was for him. I mean, I still am, but like, it was definitely heightened. It was crazy because I was in a crazy time of my life.
Yeah. This will kind of blend in, but one of the things I wanted to talk about was like, because you grew up a pastor's kid and had so many believers in your life, like what that felt like. Because I'm sure that there are people listening who are either where you were and were the person that walked away, or didn't walk away but have family members or really, really close friends that have. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk about like the relationships there. So personally, did you feel supported and seen by the believers in your life?
Definitely my parents.
Okay.
I know that my parents were doing a lot for me. I also feel like I was just being prayed over for that whole point of my life. Yeah. Because there's no way that I don't know. I should have died a lot of times, basically. Like, genuinely. I know that, number one, God was there for me, looking out for me, and I know that people were praying for me.
Did you feel that when you were in the midst of it?
No.
Okay.
I felt alone, but it wasn't because people weren't trying. It was because I was self-isolating myself.
Yeah.
Emotionally and physically. And that's always
been
dangerous. Something I do that's like my number one, like, what's the word?
Coping?
Yeah, that's my number one coping mechanism. It's like self-isolation. So like I started leaving the house a lot too, and just spending a lot of time away with friends, and just no Christian support around me whatsoever. So I definitely felt alone in that sense, but like it wasn't because people weren't trying.
Yeah.
It was just because like I was sad and like wanted to just be living the life I was living and like not with my family.
Do you think that either your parents or Christian friends or people in the church, was there anything that they did that made it harder for you to want to come back? Like there's anything you wish they did differently? You don't have to like name names or anything, but
I don't know. I think just the way that I grew up, I didn't see a lot of people like me. I didn't see a lot of people struggling with the stuff I was struggling with. So I thought it was just better if I took it elsewhere.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was room for me at the church to want to smoke weed and like, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
'Cause it just felt like I couldn't take it there. Like if I went to church, I wasn't bringing all of myself there.
Oh yeah,
if that
I see
makes
what you mean. Yeah.
I just felt like I couldn't ask for help, I guess.
So do you wish that people in your life had been more vulnerable with the struggles that they were struggling with.
I think so. If I would have seen people that I could relate to, it would have really helped me, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something that is huge in like, I would say like American Christianity. I don't think people talk often about struggles, or if they do, I feel like it's in the sense of like, oh, before I was saved, I struggled with this, but now I don't anymore,
Yeah.
which isn't super often.
Right.
Like that, you still struggle once you're saved.
Right. Absolutely.
Not in the same way necessarily, but yeah, I wish that was talked about more. And I think that there's a lot of shame in like when people do mess up and fall into a sin. And it's like, oh, just don't talk about it. Let's like hide it. And it's like, no.
Right.
Like,
When there's like a lot of people who are probably struggling with the same thing, and it'd be very helpful.
in secret and alone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think because I was so young too, like it would have been different if I was my age now and I started struggling with stuff. But since I was young, I didn't really know what else to do.
Right.
But like just go off and do it.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't tell my parents. And I like all of my friends kind of shamed me for the stuff they already knew. So that's when I kind of just fell into bad relationships because those people didn't care about me. So they didn't care what I did, you know?
You weren't accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Do you think that when you started slipping, what would have been the ideal situation for any of your Christian friends to approach you? Or would you have listened to anything?
I think at that age, I wouldn't have listened. Because there was something about 17-year-old Jordyn that I know she wouldn't have listened.
Yeah.
You know, there could have been a lot of good seeds planted, and there have been, that I remember to this day, that people had told me at that age. But yeah, I definitely needed to experience a lot of the things to really understand. But I think it would have been nice to have a good support system that made me feel like not okay with how I felt or the things that I wanted to do, but like made me feel okay to talk about it with them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I think I just felt a lot of shame. Even though I wanted to do these things, I felt shameful about them.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know what else to do.
Yeah. So let's say there's someone listening or someone comes and talks to you and they're a strong believer and they're 16, 17 and one of their friends is starting to make bad decisions. How would you advise that person to confront and talk to their friend?
I would say don't get frustrated with them because they probably won't listen. But you can plant a lot of really good seeds and be a loving friend to them no matter what. Obviously, I don't know specifically what to say because it really just depends on the person and the situation. But, you know, just like being there no matter what and just being a Christian to them and loving them like Jesus, and they'll notice that, you know. They'll notice that if they're sharing these things with you, even though you don't believe that those things are okay, that they're still there loving you and being a good friend to you, they'll remember that.
That's good. How have you handled your old friendships from your valley life?
I haven't.
Okay. Do you have any?
Actually, that was like, I felt really anxious about that when I got delivered because like none of my friends were Christians, and I wasn't scared to hurt their feelings. I was scared to be talked about, I guess, because I know that a lot of people I used to be friends with would make fun of me for sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter to me now because I get closer to God every day. Since then, I've gotten a lot closer to God. So at the beginning, I was definitely feeling hesitant. But now I don't really care. I just haven't dealt with it yet. It's like, I don't know. It's hard to know what to do and how to navigate that, because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but I also like, you know, it's, what do you say?
Right.
Like, hey, I don't agree with anything you do anymore, so we're not going to be friends. But it's like,
that's so hard.
yeah, and also I don't want friendship to be totally out of the question.
Right.
I want that to be their choice. It's like, I want to come to them with who I am now, and if they don't want to be my friend anymore, that's fine. But I don't want to necessarily take them out of my life. I think for the most part, life has just happened, and like they're just kind of out of my life naturally since then.
Yeah.
But there's no closure, I guess. So still something I'm navigating. Yeah. And I do love all of you guys, like seriously. If we've ever been friends, I don't hate you at all. I just felt like you would hate me, which is
That's
fine.
Scary.
It is scary. But, you know, audience of one. I only care about one person now. So, well, I care about everyone, but I only care about the approval of one person, which makes life a lot easier, by the way.
Yeah, it does.
So.
How has that affected your view of your body? Because you talked about
it's crazy.
Body dysmorphia.
So that's actually probably the root of most of the things I went through in my life is just insecurity. Because I only cared about what other people thought. And it was really, really bad. It was really bad.
Yeah.
So that's something that completely changed my life. I don't even think about myself the way I used to at all. I used to look in the mirror and like genuinely see an alien. Like I wouldn't even think I was human. I'd be like, what is this? But it was just because I was so in my head, and I put so much importance on myself when, like, now I'm not even living my life for myself. So it's just a lot easier because, I mean, like, obviously I'll still care about the way I look. Yeah. But I'm not insecure anymore, which is really great because I don't get my value from this world or from anyone else. I get my value from the one who created me, and he said that I'm beautiful. So, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
No more body dysmorphia.
Slay.
Which body dysmorphia is valid. It like
it's a real thing.
You are beautiful.
Yeah.
So if you have body dysmorphia, it's okay. But just know that it doesn't matter. We're all going to turn into ash anyways. So
we're going to get our new bodies.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that? Like what that'll look like in heaven?
It was funny because whenever I was younger, I thought we would be like completely like different species.
Yeah.
And like we'd be like lizard people or
I
something.
thought we would be purple.
Yeah.
Did you think purple
I thought
too?
we'd be pink. Yeah.
Crazy.
But I was like, we're going to be crazy freaks. And then I was like nervous. I was like, it's going to be kind of scary. But now I'm like, it doesn't also matter because I know that it's going to be great. So I don't have to worry or think about it.
Do you ever worry about death anymore?
Yeah.
Really?
I do.
You think about it still?
But it's not in the same way at all. It's
okay.
I am not nervous about what happens after death. I'm just a little bit scared of pain.
Oh, sure.
But I know that, you know, that's not something I need to be.
Pray it's quick.
Scared of. Yeah. First of all, you're funny and you're beautiful and you're smart and you're kind and you're generous and you're compassionate and you're awesome. But please stop doing what you're doing. I don't know. It's just like something I have to think about because honestly, at that age, I wasn't listening to a lot of what other people were saying because I was so in my head.
Yeah.
And I just I already made up my mind about like what was right and what was wrong and what I needed to do to be right.
Was there
Awesome.
anything anyone could have said to make a change or for you to actually hear?
Yeah, I think I just had no control, even though I was trying to control everything, because I had no stability, because I had no Jesus. I don't know, it's kind of hard because it's like everything I want to say is just like God. It's just like, here's the answer in the Bible. Like, here's what you need to do. But I know, like, I wouldn't have necessarily listened to that.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't even know. What would you say to me?
I don't know. Because I had the opportunity. And like, I think I knew where you were as much as I like didn't want to accept it really. But I think I just understood that there were no words that would have made you hear, and that all I could do was like show you my actions, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, I remember like one specific where you asked me to buy you cigarettes and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And you got mad at me. And that was like really hard for me because I was like,
I'm
she
sorry.
hates me. No, don't. It's okay. It's okay. But I know.
Evil. I was feigning. I wasn't evil.
No, you weren't evil. But like, I think that as hard as that was to know that you were upset with me because I cared and still care so much, that was the only way I could show you that I was choosing to live different, and that you could see the way I was living and that I had joy and peace.
Honestly, I do think about that moment.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. Because I was mad at you at the time.
Yeah.
But also, after the fact, I was like, wow, Isabella was really strong for doing that. Because you could have just felt bad for me and gotten me cigarettes. But, you know,
Yeah.
I do think of that situation. And it did encourage me for sure.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I think about that compared to like when we would hang out while I was dating Caden. And I think that I wanted your approval so bad.
Why?
I don't know. I just really wanted your approval. And it wasn't like because of Caden.
Yeah.
I just really did. And I think it was really hard for me in the beginning to like stand strong. And I know that I like just kind of went along with what you said, even though sometimes I knew it was wrong. And then I realized before the cigarette moment, I kind of had like been praying for you and thinking about it. And I was like, I am not being loving by like just going with whatever you want.
Right.
And that's like not just you, but anyone.
Yeah.
Like anyone in my life that's not living for Jesus. If I just go along with it, I'm not showing that there's a better way.
Right. Like, it's like you see someone is going down the path to death and you just encourage them.
Hold their
that
hand
path.
towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
And as like hard as it was to see you like mad, that was the most loving I could be in that moment.
For sure.
Which is really hard, but it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer for that question. It's like
That's
a hard
okay.
question.
I want you to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think that can be encouraging to family members and friends that are like, I keep trying to do all these things and say all these things and they're not listening.
Yeah. I think
You
it
know?
just ties back to what I was saying when I was like, don't get frustrated if what you're saying you think doesn't resonate with them, because it probably eventually will.
Yeah.
And, you know, God is working in their life, and all you need to do is plant the seeds, and obviously God loves them more than you ever could.
Yeah.
So he's going to do what he's going to do. And if you're like me, it's going to take a whole lot of trials and tribulations to prosper, for those seeds to, you know, grow. But they were there, and that's what's important. If I didn't have people talking about God to me when I was younger, I would have never came to him, or would have never
Yeah.
done any of that. So
I also think people forget how powerful prayer is. Like you were saying, you know now, like how much prayer was going towards you.
Yeah.
I remember talking to your mom because you told me, and then you had told your mom, and I was sitting at the fair with your parents, and your mom looked at me and she was like, "Have you talked to Jordyn?" And I was like, "Yeah, have you talked to Jordyn?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "What did you do?" And she was like, "I don't know." And I was like, that's how I felt. I was like, "What do you do when you pray for something so long and then it happens?"
it's like,
She was like, "I don't know."
no, it's like when Simon escaped jail. Who was it?
I'm going to need a little more of the story.
When he escaped jail and he went to that house and they were just praying for him and they didn't believe it was him, and that little servant girl opened the door for him and they were like, "There's no way, he's in jail." And they were just praying for him.
I know what you're talking. I don't remember which
I can't
disciple
remember who it was. I think
who
it was Simon.
Like Simon Peter.
Peter at the time.
Peter.
I think it was Peter. I think we got our
That
sound
sounds
guy.
right.
Maybe he's looking it up. Fact checking.
Why does this feel like Ellen? I was looking it up.
I think he's got it. Yeah, there
Good
you
job.
go, Peter. And they just couldn't believe it because, you know, they were praying for him for so long. And then he shows up at their house and they're like, "No,
It can't be.
it's not you."
Not me. Not Hermione.
It's you. But, yeah, it happens.
So crazy. God is good.
God is really, really good. I think about that all the time. I'm like, wow. Like, I just think about like how many times I could have died and like I should have died. And it's like, if I would have died, you know where I'm going. That's real. Like,
Yeah.
it's scary to think about because at the time, like, I didn't care at all. Like, I didn't care what happened to me. But now I'm just so thankful that, you know, God was looking out for me and was with me the entire time. And he knew where I was going to be in life. He knows everything that's ever going to happen to me. But he knew that I was going to be who I am now. And I'm just very thankful for that.
Yeah.
That I'm out of that. Like, very, very thankful that I'm out of that.
Yeah.
Because it's scary. It was really scary. It wasn't in the time. It wasn't in the middle of it. Like, I didn't really feel like I was in a valley. I just thought that that's what living was like. Like,
Really?
yeah, that it just, like, it sucked. You know, sad all the time. And, like, I don't know.
So then what did you think when you were in that dark place and you would look at like your parents or people in the church and see that they weren't feeling all of those feelings? What did you think?
I didn't really think about them.
Really?
I'm going to be honest.
I mean, yeah. Be
Yeah,
honest.
like, I didn't think about that. I would think about my parents and I would feel like really guilty because I'd be like, I know my parents are amazing and they're doing great things for me, even though I'm a little brat right now. But I wouldn't do anything about it because I was selfish. So, yeah, I didn't really think about other people at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I was only thinking about myself. So, and I was only living for myself. And you know what's funny? I know we've talked about this, but the way that I look at it is like I was living my life for myself, but I didn't even want to be alive. So it's like that's how it felt living.
That's
you know,
so crazy.
like I was the one I was living for, but I didn't want to be alive. So now I live for God, and everything has changed.
Everything.
Yeah.
Hold on, I had a thought. Okay, last thing I want to touch on is tell me about how your relationships with friends that you used to have and your family, what that like transition was like after you were saved. Like, how did the rebuilding go?
So my mom was first,
Okay.
I guess, besides you. And it was really embarrassing, but I just felt like I had to. Like, you know, when it's like, you just like, God has something on your heart and it's like, you have no choice but to just like exclaim it
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I love God.
Is that what you told her?
Yes, and I started crying. Like, I didn't get much out before I started crying. But it was just like, I don't know. I was like, God is so good. And I like love him. I don't even know. I really don't know what else was said. Like, it
I
was
love
a lot.
that was your intro.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah. I eventually sat her down and I like kind of talked about my endeavors, my past endeavors. And she obviously knew probably a lot of the stuff that was going on already. And then I think my dad knows too. But I haven't like sat down with him and talked about it yet. But he was in the room when I was telling my mom, so I'm assuming he heard.
He was probably listening, even if he was pretending he wasn't.
But, you know, that's also something that I might need to wait a little bit longer so it's less fresh. Especially with my mom. I love you, Mom. But she doesn't want to hear this right now. Like, she doesn't want to hear about what happened in my life. Yeah. Like, she just doesn't.
She doesn't.
She loves me, and she is...
Well, that's what makes it hard.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're the two people that love you more than anyone on the physical earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I have a lot in my story, in my testimony. It's like there's a lot going on. And I do feel shame about a lot of it. But also I don't, because like God is good and God delivered me from all of that. And if anything, that just shows what kind of God he is, you know, that he can do that. So I try not to feel shameful about it, because it's not me anymore, and it's just part of my story, and you know, it's what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff that she's not ready to hear yet. So you know, it'll come with time.
What about friendships from when you were young? Have any of those come back?
Yeah, a little bit, actually. I rekindled some friendships. I used to be a really bad friend. Like, I used to be really selfish, and it wasn't because I liked myself. It was because I hated myself. So I was really self-involved and self-centered. So yeah, I used to not be a very good friend, and I wouldn't handle friendships well, and it's still something I'm working on. But thankfully, a lot of my old friends are very forgiving and very loving. So I feel really content with who I'm surrounded by right now.
That's good.
Yeah.
This might be a long one.
Oh no.
But
oh no.
I just thought of it, and I think it's important, and maybe we'll make this a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But I know that you dealt with a lot of mental health stuff and were like straight up diagnosed with a good amount of things.
Yep.
You can list them or not list them. It's up to you.
The roster.
The roster.
No, I came up with a term.
Okay.
That I was a mental health hypochondriac. If that makes sense.
What do you truly believe you did have at that point, and what
Delusion.
do you have any of the same mental health struggles that you did before?
Yeah. I mean, so
what stuck around?
I was diagnosed with depression when I was 15. And that is when it was pretty prime in my life. You know, I tried to kill myself, and, you know, it didn't work out, thankfully, but like, you know, it's always been there.
Yeah.
I think for my whole life, I've been passively suicidal, if not actively. So I've always been sad and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been diagnosed with OCD. I've been diagnosed with anxiety. I've been diagnosed with borderline personality. I don't think, I don't know. Because right now I don't even think about any of it. Like after I got delivered, I was like, I was just making mental health my identity because I didn't have an identity at all.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I still deal with things, but now my solution is just like helpful. Like I just pray about it and like go to the Bible, and I can feel like a lot better. I just feel like great.
Yeah.
Because I know that I can get through anything. I think before it was really scary because like I would just feel all these things, and then like the solutions weren't very, like they're all temporary. It's like medication or like essential oils, like making your bed, you know, going on a walk, stuff like that, which is helpful. But, you know, I didn't have God. I didn't have that, which is everything. So now that I have that, I don't know, like everything I go through is not scary anymore. It's not as detrimental as it would have been if I feel like I can get through a lot harder things now that I have God.
Was fear really prominent in your life?
Yes.
Are you afraid of anything now?
Yeah.
Other than like spiders.
I'm not scared of spiders.
You're not scared of spiders? I distinctly remember a series of text messages where you were like, sorry, I'm going to be 30 minutes late because a spider had a bunch of babies in my bathroom and I'm terrified.
Okay. It was like a wolf spider.
Yeah.
And I threw a shoe at it. It ran away and pooped out a bunch of babies. So like, what am I going to do?
So you're telling me if that happened right now, you would not feel any fear?
Okay. It's more so like, ew, like what do I do? Then like, they're gonna get me. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
Like it's not like I'm scared they're gonna get me, but I'm like, I don't want that to happen, you know?
Sure.
Yeah, I have fear sometimes, I think. Just like little anxieties that I have. Like even before I came here, I was feeling like scared. But it also you know, it's not fear like I had before. It's fear that is curable.
Yeah.
Like pretty easily. But also, you know, I'm sure there's going to be some hard things thrown into my life. Hopefully not soon, but like eventually I'm going to be going through more trials. So, you know, but also like I've gone through a lot of things that have built a lot of endurance, and endurance definitely helps with that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's important to remember the things I've gone through because it's really easy to forget like what I've been through and get scared about what's coming for me. But if
you can do that.
yeah, right. But I'm like, hey, if I remember what God has delivered me from and what I've been able to get through and accomplish through him, then it's nothing scary can come at me anymore. Right. Like I might be scared for a little bit, but then I'll be like, oh, it's okay because, you know, I can get through it. Like I'll never have to go through something that I can't handle with God.
I think that's like the perfect thing you could tell someone is like,
there you go.
Christians still struggle. Yeah. There are still hardships and trials. But when you're a Christian, you have a solution.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because I felt really helpless before.
Yeah.
I was the one who was in control, you know, not actually, but like, you know, I was in control. So I put a lot of pressure on myself. And now I don't have to do that all the time. So,
final question. The theme of the podcast is freedom. In your valley, you were definitely the person that was like, no, Christianity's all rules, and I don't want rules. Now that you are a Christian and are in it, and there are rules, how do you experience the freedom now?
So I definitely thought that I was living a free life because I could do whatever I want. I was fulfilling all of my needs. Anything I wanted to do, I would do it. But it obviously comes with a cost. And so there's a reason that there's rules. And the rules that God has for us are not because he doesn't want us to have fun, or he doesn't love us, or he wants to control us. It's because he cares about us. So all of the rules that I now follow have just led me to peace and joy and not heartbreak and all the stuff that I was living in before. So I definitely think it's important to live by those rules, because the more closely that I follow them, the better life that I have and the closer I am to God. I think that before I definitely had a negative view, and I thought that it was very controlling, and I thought there was no freedom or no self-expression, and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of that was just me wanting to do self-gratifying things that are not good for me, and that lead to bad things as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, the more that I got into that life and the more things I experienced, the bigger my craving became and the bigger the hole became, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the more I would experience, the more that I needed. But I never felt like true satisfaction.
Satisfaction.
I was like, I know that sounds wrong. I never experienced true satisfaction until I lived my life for God. For sure.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
I feel like we covered a lot of ground,
Cool
and I'll
things.
probably do one with you again in the future, and
Yeah.
kind of like an update of where you are then,
Yeah.
because this is kind of fresh and new.
Yes.
And to close out, we should pray for people that are listening.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, I pray that this message falls on the right ears, and I pray that you open the hearts and the ears to the ones listening. And I pray that the people who need someone to look up to, or someone's story to see, someone to relate to, I pray that they get to see this. And I pray that the things that I've gone through glorify you, and that the things that I've been delivered from are helpful to other people going through that stuff, and to know that you can never get so deep in the valley that you can never come out. You can never do so many bad things that there's no coming back from. That God can deliver anyone out of anything, and he loves you and cares about you. Thank you, Lord, for loving and caring about us. And thank you for Isabella as well, for giving me this platform to share these things. Amen.
Dear God, I thank you for Jordyn and for her heart, and for saving her. I also want to lift up people that have family members that are struggling, and just give them hope and steadfastness, and like just encourage them that their prayers are being heard, and that you haven't forgotten about the people that they love, and that you're chasing them, and just speak through them into the person that they're worried about, and open their ears and just comfort the people that have family members that are wandering. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
If you want to follow Jordyn, her Instagram is thejordyncameron. And if you want to follow me, it's the Isabella Cameron. Sisters. And follow this podcast on Instagram and TikTok at the Freedom Podcast 612. I'll have all of this linked below if you want to listen to more.
Thank you guys for Isabella, and she's so cool. And I don't know where I was going with that. I just wanted to interrupt you.
Cool. 3, 2, 1, bye. 3, 2, 1, bye.
Bye.